VirtualBox is a software that lets you install operating systems as a virtual machine on your existing computer. So I'm running on a Mac, so I'm going to download the VirtualBox 6.1 for Mac OS. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to go through that process again. But what I'll do is I can open up VirtualBox and see kind of the software here. So before I create a new virtual machine, what I want to do is I want to download the Ubuntu server image file. So I need to go to ubuntu.com and download I'm going to get the latest one, the latest 20.04 LTS version. So I'll download that. And again, I think I already have it I already have the ISO file downloaded, so I'm just going to cancel that guy and switch back over to VirtualBox. So just click on New, and I'll name this Ubuntu 20.04. It automatically knows that it's a Linux Ubuntu machine, so I'll hit Continue. I can set how much RAM I want to allocate for the image or the operating system. So I'm assigning 4 gigs of RAM, and I can also set the hard disk space. So I'm going to set just 10 gigs just for our purposes here. And the same thing here. It's basically creating a virtual kind of hard drive within your existing hard drive, and I'll let it dynamically allocate the space. And yeah, that's basically it. So there's a couple of other options. So if I go to settings, what I can do is I can assign like some of these like display kind of network settings. So if I go to display, I'll make the display kind of the max so that it goes full screen on my Mac right now. You don't have to do this. And then the other thing is on the network, the default is a Nat Network. And what that basically means is it creates kind of its own internal network. So the IP address of this virtual machine will get like a 10.0. something IP address. So if you don't want that, and if you want your router to kind of assign the IP address that is generic, so mine is my generic IP addresses are usually 192.168.0. something. And so if you want something like that to be assigned for your image here, you just set it to bridged adapter. So I'll do that, and I'll keep it as bridged adapter. So it's basically bridging my Wi-Fi on my Mac onto this virtual machine. So hit OK and save that. And then when I hit start, it'll ask me for the image itself of Ubuntu 20.04. So I have that here, and I need to find that image. So if I hit that and I go to add, oops. And of course it's frozen. So downloads, and if I just type in Ubuntu, which should be in my downloads folder. So there it is, 20.04. I'll open that guy and I'll choose that. So I'm getting the server edition because I don't really want any of the GUI stuff, any of the graphical user interface stuff. So I can just run it right in here, and that's it. Done. And I do want to install Open Ssh. So this is really important. So if you want to be able to access the Ubuntu server from your own Mac terminal, or even from another computer, from another computer's terminal, then you can do that by enabling SSH in here. So it'll install an SSH server, and you'll be able to access it. And I'm not going to import any SSH identities. You can do that if you'd like. So I hit done. And then, so this is something really cool as well. So out of the box, Ubuntu allows you to install some of these existing kind of softwares and open source softwares as an add to Ubuntu. So for example, if you're running like a LAMP server, you can install kind of the dependencies that belong to that. If you want to set this up as a Rocket Chat server, you can do that right away. If you want to install Nextcloud, which is like your files sharing open source software, you can do that. Like basically you can do a bunch of stuff and include that all in here. So for the purpose of this, I'm not going to install anything, so I'm just going to hit done. And that's it. So basically it's going to install everything that I requested it to on that virtual hard disk, and yeah, it'll just tell me when it's done. So it looks like I'm in Ubuntu, but it looks also like it's still starting up a few services. So I'll just let that finish before I try SSHing into the virtual machine from my Mac. So, okay. So this looks promising. So now this is the virtual machine, right? So I'm going to minimize that. And then I'm going to open up my terminal. And I'm going to SSH into that Virtualbox. But before I do that, I need to know what the IP address of it is. So ifconfig. I need to install some net tools. Okay. Net tools. Install. So once I have this installed, I'll be able to check the IP address, which it has provided me. So 118. Try that again. So basically from this side, I was able to install the net tools and then get the IP address. And so now I'm gonna switch over to my own terminal on my Mac and then SSH using my username at the IP address that I just found out. Okay, yes, and then using the password that you set for Ubuntu, boom. I'm in SSH into the virtual machine's Mac. So I can do whatever I want to do now. I can install new software. I can set this up as a web server. I can do anything I want. Yeah, and that's kind of all we wanted to show. Thanks.